Two airplanes that became symbols of their time and forever changed the face of global aviation. The first is the majestic Airbus A380, the largest passenger airliner in history, whose grandeur captivates the imagination. The second is the legendary Boeing 747, known as the humpback jumbo, which radically transformed the concept of long-haul air travel. Both of these giants became true icons, embodying the boldness of engineering thought and demonstrating how it can challenge the impossible. Yet despite their grandeur and technical prowess, the fates of these two titans turned out to be completely different. The Airbus A380, despite its impressive characteristics, ended up as a financial project with multi-billion-dollar losses, while the Boeing 747 demonstrated incredible resilience and continues to fly, finding new life in the modern sky. This contrast raises questions. Why did one of the giants peacefully retire ahead of schedule, while the other continues to serve to this day? Today, we will examine this story not through the lens of nostalgia, but with the help of cold numbers, market analysis, and the specifics of airport infrastructure. Airbus and Boeing presented different concepts for the future of aviation. Airbus bet on giant airliners capable of carrying the maximum number of passengers in a single flight through major aviation hubs, assuming it would be economically advantageous. Boeing, on the other hand, chose a different path, focusing on the frequency of flights with smaller aircraft and betting on cargo transportation. This flexibility proved to be winning. It was once believed that 4 engines were necessary for intercontinental flights to ensure safety in case one failed. However, with the advancement of technology and increased engine reliability, the need for 4-engine airliners gradually diminished. Modern crew training systems became more stringent. Regulators expanded ETOPS rules, allowing flights on one engine in case of the second's failure. This time increased from the initial 2 hours to 3, and then 4 hours of flight, reducing the need for 4 engines for long-haul flights. The risk did not disappear completely, but became so manageable that it turned from an exception into a routine component. The main secret of the Boeing 747's success lies in its versatility. On paper, it seemed that the enormous Airbus A380 offered a low cost per passenger seat, but in real life, passengers buy not only a seat but also time. For a business person, it is important to fly out in the morning, make it to a meeting by lunch, and return home before midnight. This schedule is easier to achieve with several smaller flights than with one giant one. Frequent departures also help mitigate the impact of demand fluctuations and quickly restore the schedule after delays. Airports were in no hurry to rebuild their terminals to accommodate the A380, which required special infrastructure, gates with 2 or 3 jet bridges, reinforced taxiways, longer loaders. As a result, any flight delay turned into a real problem. If a high gate was occupied, passengers couldn't board. Towing procedures were prolonged due to the enormous wingspan. The aircraft was reliable, but the entire system around it proved too complex and vulnerable. On charts, the Airbus A380 looked perfect, providing low cost per seat when fully loaded, but demand for flights is inconsistent. In summer, the plane is packed to capacity, while in winter or midweek, it might fly half empty. And if the airliner's profitability is ensured only with full occupancy, then the business model is too fragile. The Boeing 747 proved more resilient to changes. Twin-engine airliners like the Airbus A350 and Boeing 777 occupied the golden middle ground. They accommodate enough passengers and carry a significant amount of cargo in the lower holds. They are easier to adjust to changing demand, leading to fewer empty seats and increased profitability per seat. In modern aviation, not only the cost of the seat matters, but also the profitability per seat. Here, flexibility, flight frequency, the right departure time, and class balance are decisive. And finally, the key difference. By opening the nose of the Boeing 747, we get a flying cargo dock. A flat floor, high fuselage, wide doors, and mounts for any cargo allow transport vehicles to drive inside the aircraft and cranes to easily lower turbines or cable reels. This is not romance, but practicality. Despite its enormous size, the A380 features a 2-deck fuselage. For passengers, this is an advantage, but for cargo transportation, it's a real headache. 2 levels create unnecessary partitions, and the floor requires additional reinforcement, which adds weight. Cutting a large cargo door is almost impossible. The Airbus A380 excels at passenger transport but is nearly useless for heavy cargo. The Boeing 747 was initially designed with both passenger and cargo transport in mind. The cargo business needs volume and ease of loading, not seats. Express companies operate by the minute, and containers must be loaded without delays. Here, the height of the compartment and the precision of loading are crucial. Freight forwarders book flights at the last minute when a ship is delayed or unforeseen circumstances arise. They are not interested in luxurious seats or business models. For those involved in cargo transportation, it's extremely important that containers can easily pass through doorways, the cargo is securely fastened to the floor, and of course, that the ability to book a similar flight is available without the need for any changes. In this context, the Boeing 747 meets all these demands, while the Airbus A380 failed to offer a full-fledged cargo version, which became a noticeable omission. In an era when e-commerce has made a real breakthrough and logistics is experiencing rapid growth, it is the Boeing 747, with its unique design, including a lifting nose and sturdy attachments, that has become an indispensable element in the transport chain. Of course, the Airbus A380 also had its dedicated and strong directions. Several major airports bet on this super jumbo, filling its upper deck with premium class and attracting families for long-distance travel. On such routes, the A380 indeed showed its efficiency, but its potential was limited. Beyond a few dozen major hubs, the A380 required significant transformations from airports to accommodate it. There were few such airports, while the Boeing 747 found a broader niche for its second life. Some airlines continued to use the Boeing 747 on congested routes, but the main focus was on cargo transportation. Cargo companies and charter flights easily launched this aircraft from major hubs to less busy airfields. They could transport a wide variety of goods, from ordinary boxes of Amazon products to massive turbines for power plants. Another significant advantage of the Boeing 747 was its established ecosystem. Over the years, a whole culture of service support grew around this aircraft, including spare parts, documentation, hangars, and maintenance bases. This meant that keeping it operational was easier and cheaper. The Airbus A380 did not have time to create such infrastructure. What is the secret of the survival of one and the decline of the other? The Boeing 747 had a unique ability to revive. All maintenance bases knew it, and spare parts could be found worldwide. Conversion from passenger to cargo version became a common practice, which inspired confidence in banks and leasing companies. They believed in the prospects of the Boeing 747, knowing that it could always earn a few more years in the cargo segment. For the Airbus A380, the situation was the opposite. Its fleet was comparatively small, and converting the two-deck cabin was too expensive. Most importantly, the lack of a full-fledged cargo version made it less attractive. Often it was cheaper for airlines to dismantle such an aircraft for parts than to pay for another major overhaul. Today, airline expenses include not only the cost of fuel and crew salaries. Carbon charges add additional costs for every kilogram of fuel burned, and biofuel usage regulations increase the price per gallon. Noise restrictions and nighttime bans particularly pressure major hubs, where the Airbus A380 once seemed like a profitable option. In such conditions, an airliner that pays off only when fully loaded and on perfect days becomes a risky investment. So where are the ideal conditions for the A380 and Boeing 747 now? The Airbus A380 remains in demand only on routes where it is truly needed. During peak hours, on the busiest routes, where terminals have been specifically redesigned for it. In other cases, airlines prefer more economical twin-engine aircraft. The Boeing 747 has also almost disappeared from passenger fleets, but its cargo versions continue to operate actively. They transport turbines, helicopters, heavy equipment for humanitarian missions, and of course, e-commerce goods. The Boeing 747 has become not a relic of the past, but a true working tool. Could the Airbus A380 have taken a different path? Theoretically, yes, but reality proved more complex. Creating a new version with a lighter fuselage and fresh engines, or a full-fledged cargo variant, faced serious obstacles. The double deck is too heavy for cargo transport, and cutting a huge door without losing structural rigidity proved impossible. Airports that had already invested billions in its maintenance would not agree to reinvest. Meanwhile, twin-engine aircraft have already proven their efficiency, performing the same missions faster and cheaper. This is the main difference. The Airbus A380 bet on a future that materialized in only a few airports, while the Boeing 747 found its niche in cargo transportation. Aviation is a complex network where the winner is not the most beautiful aircraft, but the one that solves more tasks throughout the year. Twin-engine airliners have become the optimal solution for passengers, while the nose-lifting Boeing 747 continues to dominate the cargo segment. So when you see an Airbus A380 in the sky, enjoy this rare sight. And if you hear the roar of a Boeing 747 at night, know that it's not a museum exhibit, but a real workhorse still doing its job.